No matter how much work I get done, work continues to pile up. I constantly fight with receipts from morning to night. Before I knew it, I was nearly 30. My ability to recover has slowly deteriorated. It happened while I was pondering such things on my way home from working on my day off. Seiichiro Kondo suddenly heard a woman scream and ran to the alley to see her begging for someone to save her as a portal was sucking her away. He ran and reached, and when they touched fingers, their bags were all that remained. He woke up next to the girl as the surrounding medieval bystanders cheered to the successful summon of their holy maiden. Sei took particular notice of a purple-eyed man with an aloof stare. Prince Urius offered his hand, telling the girl they'd been waiting for her. Sei, meanwhile, had accidentally been summoned as a consequence. From what they told him, this was the kingdom of Romani, home to a miasmic forest known as the Demon Forest. Miasma erupted from it once every 100 years, unleashing a plague. The only one who could purify it was the Holy Maiden. They utilized all the kingdom's knowledge to perform a parallel world summoning spell. Despite it being what they called an act of God, they apologized for involving Sei and bore full responsibility. The Prime Minister decreed they provide him with all the food, clothing, and shelter he needed. They asked the other worlder if there was anything else he desired. Hearing he could live his days out doing nothing, he thought this really was a dream. However, he still asked that they please let him work. After being a working member of society for 7 years, he completely internalized the corporate slave mentality and couldn't help answering the way he did. He stayed in a dormitory where many of the palace civil servants lived. He ended up taking a job at the royal accounting department and wondered if his skills would be sufficient in this world. Laying back, he hoped that girl was alright. Hearing knocks at his door, he'd be greeted by Norbert Blanc. Their boss had him bring Sei some documents and clothes. Norbert was quite friendly, seemingly golden retriever-like. He also thought Seiichiro was too much to say, and came to the same conclusion I did by calling him Sei. They used Arabic numerals here, and words translated automatically, so Sei was able to read with ease. He'd suddenly be approached by the dazzling guy from the other day, who asked what Sei was doing here. Sei explained he was waiting for a helmet from the Royal Accounting Department. Norbert came running towards them and was shocked to see Commander Aresh Indolark. Aresh sighed, and glancing at Sei, his eyes widened. Aresh took off shortly. Norbert had never seen the commander of the Third Royal Order up close before. He wondered if perhaps Aresh was worried, since Sei was from another world. He's heard Aresh was ruthless, but maybe he had a nice side too. Norbert explained the Third Royal Order was full of elite knights who could wield both magic and swords. Commander Indolark was in a league of his own though. Handsome, strong, and the son of a marquess, so he was from a good family. A rare prodigy who made Knight Commander at an exceptionally young age. Their boss, Helmut Samaria, showed them to the accounting department, and they'd start by having tea. Shortly, it was already time for lunch, so they went to the cafeteria. By evening, when everyone was heading out, Sei was taken aback. He couldn't believe everyone left promptly at the end of the workday. Bro has Japanese salaryman Stockholm Syndrome. Helmut told him since tomorrow was his day off, to take the time to buy anything he needed in town, and paid him promptly. The next day, Norbert took Sei shopping. The currency they used here was called rula. 4 rula was about equivalent to 100 yen, or 64 cents in real money. Sei took notice of an abacus and decided to buy it. Looking at pens, Norbert told Sei they had pens in the office. However, Sei wanted his own. He wanted a pen with magic ink that didn't need refilling, despite its expensive price. He figured he'd have to work hard starting tomorrow to save up. The next day, the co-workers stood stunned, with Sei having come early, tidying up the place. Norbert would ask if he slept well last night, and even though Sei replied yes, Norbert couldn't make sense of it with the super dark bags under his eyes. Norbert gave him a nutritional tonic to take tonight to get good sleep. Sei was then alerted the Holy Maiden was calling for him. Urius scolded him immediately for being late, though she told Urius she was the one who asked for him without warning. Yua Shiraishi introduced Urius as the kingdom's first prince, who'd been looking after her here. Sitting and chatting, Sei asked what she intended to do from here, and she firmly answered she wanted to do her part as the Holy Maiden. There were a lot of people in the kingdom suffering, and she was the only one who could help. Prince Urius would suddenly get called away with an urgent request from his father, so he left things here to Aresh. Sei told Yua that while it was fine to have some sense of justice, she should give some thought to her situation and surroundings. Regardless of the duties of a holy maiden, she was kidnapped and summoned to work for people of this kingdom. He recommended she thought well about what that meant and be certain of the conditions before she acted. She thought he was telling her to refuse, but he was only saying she should take her time to understand what was going on. After all, she had no idea the dangers of being the holy maiden, and they may not care if she lived or died, so long as the miasma was taken care of. She questioned how he could be so cold, and reasonably, he responded they didn't even know if what they were told was the truth. I'm gonna be honest, I like how logical he is. Yua started getting in her feelings, telling him she understood the two of them had completely different ways of thinking. She was going to do her best for the people of this kingdom. Typical emotional thinker. People who think like this will get you hurt with their good intentions. They need rational thinkers like Sei to lead them in the right direction. Lying in bed that night, Sei thought about how it was an adult's responsibility to offer guidance to minors, but he wasn't expecting her to listen to a complete stranger like him. The next morning, he was so full of energy, it scared Norbert. The tonic worked wonders apparently. They came from a skilled apothecary who made them for the knights. After work, Sei bought 10 bottles. Entering shop came both Commander Indelark and Vice Captain or Jeff Rhoda. Or Jeff asked what the funnel department was doing here and referred to Sei as the Holy Maiden's tag-along. He teased that despite being from another world, Sei looked like a perfectly unremarkable ordinary guy. With Sei promptly leaving, Aresh told him the Prime Minister had his eye on him. Sei wasn't sure what to make of that, but assumed the PM probably thought of him as a nuisance if he found out what he said to Yua. Helmet was surprised to see Sei asking for his next assignment. Norbert was amazed, seeing Sei get to quick work using the abacus he bought the other day. Sei wasn't worried about fatigue, because as long as he had tonics, he wouldn't get tired no matter how much he worked. He paused and showed Helmut there was something off about the budget request he was working on. The numbers were too round. Plus, the Third Royal Order submitted 3 identical requests for training costs, but the amount listed on each was different. Helmut answered they filed everything as training expenses, so it was fine. This pissed Sei off. He stopped Helmut from stamping approvals without examining each receipt carefully. Norbert assured him it was fine, but now Sei realized why they were called the funnel department. They literally acted like a conveyor belt for the Third Order. It was only an accounting department in name, when really, it was a front for the upper class to do as they pleased with national taxes. He knew there was no way things could run smoothly without a balance of income and costs, and needed to investigate how they were dealing with the shortfall of money. He told them from now on, they return any incomplete forms that had no written explanation of why. They needed to let the requesters know they wouldn't tolerate wasteful spending. Or Jeff would approach Aresh, letting him know how recently their budget requests were being rejected and returned. Hearing it had to do with the funnel department, Aresh took a stark pause. Spotting Aresh, Yua would run up to him, and Prime Minister Camille Carvada reminded her she mustn't run in the halls. She apologized, and the two made small talk about her classes. She thought her instructor was scary, but would probably be able to work harder if someone as kind and cool as him were her instructor. Or Jeff couldn't believe she was saying this about their heartless Prime Minister. Having looked into things, Sei could see all the deficits had been paid for out of the Demon Forest Countermeasures Fund of the defense budget. The Demon Forest miasma only erupted once every century. It would seem they've grown comfortable spending the money set aside for that. But if the miasma started causing damage, contaminating plants, spreading to animals and humans, that would definitely lead to a fall in tax revenue. The kingdom's coffers would bleed dry at this rate. A knight from the order came shouting, asking why they refused another budget request. They've loosened restrictions, but he still came every day to complain. Another knight came over to say there was trouble. There was an official occurrence of miasma. Sei buckled down and went harder to work, doing everything he could on his end. During a meeting, the Prime Minister read out the reports on disparity between national income and expenditures for the past 2 decades, as well as the specific amount spent by each department. On top of that, a calculation table for the total losses expected by potential miasma damage in the future. He asked Helmut about this. The knight from the other day argued with Sei again, and Camille came by, looking to offer Sei a proper position. Sei was intimidated. Camille likely had the same authority as the Prime Minister did in Japan. Camille hereby appointed Sei to assistant director of the Royal Accounting Department because of his excellent report. Both the wealth of Say's information and his writing was impeccable. He hoped Say would continue to serve their kingdom faithfully. Say was sick of management. He wanted to work without responsibilities or restraints. Unfortunately, Camille took notice that he did indeed have management experience. His coworkers would later congratulate him on becoming their superior. That evening, he'd go out to buy more tonics because he ran out, and going to take another sip, his heart pulsed. He fell to the floor, and that's when Aresh would find him. Alright, dramatic ending to this first episode. I would say I actually really like Say and can relate to him in a lot of ways. I actually used to work in an accounting department during my college days, and there were tons of stupid, lazy people with budgets spent erroneously. So very excited to see how this continues. But what do you guys think? Subscribe for more content. But for now, watch this next video. It's me, Comfy T. I'll see you all in the next one.